TERI has been under fire for the last 2 days for promoting RK Pachauri to a newly created post even as he faces serious allegations of sexual harassment, a case that is currently going on in court. Well, tonight, another former employee of TERI is breaking her silence and she is levelling very serious similar allegations. She joins us on the program this evening along with her lawyer Vrinda Grover, who's here in the studio with us. The complainant's identity is being concealed tonight at her request. Ma'am, let me first ask you, before you detail what exactly happened with you, why have you chosen to speak out now? Why didn't you speak out earlier?
Nidhi, it happened when I worked at TERI several years ago, but I just want to set the record right. I'm not breaking my silence now. I complained while I was working at TERI, and I also complained through my lawyer last year. So this is not, it's not that I'm breaking my silence now. I broke my silence while I was at TERI. My counsel also put it on record. We released a statement to the media last year as well.
Okay, so you yourself have personally though come out to the media today. And can I just ask you, what exactly happened? Just detail for us what exactly happened. I'm seeing your statement here and it's eerily similar to the case that he's currently fighting in court.
Yeah, well, there's been a pattern to his sexual harassment, and it's not just me, it's a lot of other of my female colleagues. His harassment was really corridor gossip. Men and women would talk about it. But to come back to what he did with me, it was the usual, calling me to his room, often on the pretext of work.
Okay, Vrinda, detail this for us. Before we get into the details, she says she did complain while she was at TERI that she attempted to make a statement to the police, but was an FIR ever filed, ever lodged?
You see, this is an incident. It was at the time when from 2003 to roughly about 2004, 2005, she was working there. At that time, the Vishaka guidelines were in operation. There is, in law, a system provided of an in-house redressal mechanism to women in case of sexual harassment. At TERI, that mechanism was not available. It was not publicly known. Even when she approached persons in management, they all brushed it aside and said, come on, it's just a small thing and not to be taken seriously. In those circumstances,
which year was this?
This was post 2003 while she was working there. And so the Vishaka guidelines, which required and placed a legal obligation on TERI, that redressal mechanism was not made available to her, even though she made that complaint. Thereafter, she left the job, and women then want to move on with their lives and not get entrapped in such situations. When the FIR complainant made the complaint last year, at that time she came forward and said, yes, he has also sexually harassed me. I recall at the press conference we released a part of her statement. After that, I approached as her lawyer DCP South, Mr Premnath, and had a meeting with him, had a meeting with the investigating officer in the Lodi Colony police station, after which I was assured that they would get back to us. Both she and another woman who is of foreign origin, she's a European, had also approached me saying she would like to give statements which would
This is in the current case that's
yes,
going on.
In the current
they wanted
case,
to give statements in the case
because
that RK Pachauri is already facing by a third woman, the other complainant,
yes,
which is currently
both of them are saying we have similarly faced sexual harassment at different points of time, not while this present FIR complainant was there. But this would show what is the character of this person, how there is a serial offender over here before us, and also this would be material evidence to the manner in which this sexual harassment is done in the office. At that point, I was assured by the DCP South that he would revert to me. On not hearing from him, I sent a letter on 5th of March. Till date, that letter has neither been acknowledged nor replied.
So she chose, so Vrinda, I'm asking you what a lot of people will ask. This happened many years ago. She chose not to file an FIR, but to record a statement in front of the police in order to, in a sense, support the claim of the other complainant whose case is already in court, who has filed an FIR. But again, if you could describe to us, you've described in a fair detail a series of allegations. So what did happen at that time to you when you worked there at TERI?
Nidhi, this was really spread over the months that I worked there. He would call me to the office on the pretext of work, and only when I got there, I would come to know that it wasn't. He'd come stand very close, place his hand on the shoulder, try to kiss or hold you, place his hand on the waist, call me on the weekends, gave me a nickname, etc. I mean, the media statement has many other details, made me read what was then his novel in the making. It's a very sexually explicit piece of work. And of course, sexual innuendos when, he would call one into the room, and there were other colleagues who would come up to me or go to others, friends there, and we would really discuss what he was doing with us. And I did try speaking to them and ask them if we could collectively do something, but not everyone was interested. And I thought I will be able to lodge a complaint, and I did that, but it really was just laughed at.
I mean, among the things you detail, and I'm reading this out because it's similar to the other complainant's own case. And you said on one occasion he called you to his office, and you claim that he said he could lift hefty and heavy women, and so lifting you would not be a problem. That one day you said you were suffering from a migraine, and he said that I give a very good head massage, I'll give you one if you want. That he would call you on your personal cell phone. You were talking about that. He would ask you intrusive questions about your personal life. Did you ever tell him that this wasn't okay, or were you nervous about doing that? Did you ever tell him that this is inappropriate?
Of course I did, a number of times, but he would just smile and say, oh, come on, you're just taking it seriously, I'm just being warm, or not respond at all. I did several times, and not just me, a lot of these other women did, Some of us would walk out of the room, but none of that helped at all. That's why I thought I'll complain.
And who did you complain to, and what happened?
Well, I complained to the head of the management, and when I described what he was doing, this man just heard me and smiled and said that I'm misreading everything and that I shouldn't talk about it, and I'd rather focus on my work.
So, is this why you quit TERI? You said you worked there for a year. Is this the reason why you left?
Yes, it's definitely one of the reasons that made me leave. I mean, I would have stayed on otherwise. I mean,
I'm going through your statement. You said you made an allegation at one point that he would try to touch your hand. One day your hair was slightly wet, and he said your hair looks you look beautiful with wet hair. That made you angry. He placed his hand on your shoulder. Yeah. When you hear this, it's so outrageous, and I want to place on record that we did contact Mr. Pachauri's lawyer for a response, and he refused to comment on the allegations you're making, saying that he was not aware of the details. But let me ask you, the question I asked in the beginning, it has been so many years since this happened. Why did you decide, to go public with this so many years later? Is it because this other complainant had, taken the next step and filed an FIR? Why didn't you file an FIR?
I didn't file an FIR, one, because my duration at TERI was not that long, and I'd quit and I'd gone out of the country. And like Vrinda said some time ago, you move on with your life. So I had, but when I saw this woman and her FIR and read about it in the press, I thought this is a great time to support her. And I've known many other women who are still working there or worked there earlier, who've gone through the same thing. The echoes back, Nidhi. So this I thought was a great time to support her. And especially when I read Pachauri say to the press that his computer had been hacked and all of this was untrue, that's just very shameless, and keeping quiet was not done. But Nidhi, I also want to say, women who keep quiet or keep quiet to different degrees or in different ways are always asked why they stay silent. But I think every time we pose a question about women's silence, we must simultaneously ask how, when and where can she speak. That is an equally important question which we always forget to ask.
I'm sure it must be difficult, because when it comes to men who are in positions of power in particular, you feel intimidated when you don't get support from an organization as well. I'm sure it's very difficult to be able to come forward and say anything.
It's not just the organization, Nidhi. I spoke to maybe 7 or 8 women several months back who are at TERI or were at TERI at some point, and I asked them if we could do something collectively. All of them said no, but different reasons. But I'll give you one example. I know this woman well. She wants to speak out, but her marital family, her husband, they're all pressurizing her not to get involved. So we must keep all of these considerations when we talk about, why women stay silent.
And so when you heard this news about the governing council of TERI deciding to promote RK Pachauri this week, even while, his name is yet to be cleared, even while this case is ongoing, with people like Naina Lal Kidwai and Deepak Parekh on that governing council deciding to promote him despite that case, how did you feel?
Absolutely. Well, extremely angry, livid really. That's why Vrinda and I decided to come out with it again. The media statement, like I said, was released last year. So it's been a year since we've been waiting to, that people notice that there are other women as well. But it seems to be going from bad to worse. The fellows actually being rewarded instead of being punished.
Well, again, Vrinda, it's not for us to judge whether he's innocent or guilty. It is for a court of law to decide that. His lawyer has chosen not to speak on these allegations tonight. But where do you go from here with this complainant's, allegations today? Are you going to now, approach the police again and insist they record a statement? Approach the, the lawyer who's representing the other girl in court? What are you going to do? Where do we go from here?
I think we need to understand what this case has brought to the fore is the nature of sexual harassment. It's not about just filing an FIR. Many people have asked the complainant and me that, what is your next legal step? I think we need to understand that over here, what has happened in this case? The woman who did go forward filed an internal complaint and an FIR. Where is she today? She has suffered. She has suffered for asking for redressal of the violation of her rights. The internal complaints committee reports has been stayed. TERI as an organization, it is incumbent legally on them to seek a vacation of that stay. I do not see TERI doing anything in urgency. During the time period when there was no stay, there was a period of 10 days in last year's May, TERI did not suspend him or sack him from that position. Insofar as her FIR is concerned, it was lodged in February of 2015. 1 year is over. The police has not filed a charge sheet. What has she gained from going to the law and the legal machinery? The legal machinery is not a ration shop where women are going to go running. The legal machinery and the law must inspire confidence in us that our rights will be addressed and our rights will be protected and promoted. The burden is not on the women always. The women have stepped forward. The women are fighting cases, not just of sexual harassment, of other forms of violence. Repeatedly, the legal system is failing us. The police commissioner makes a statement that his men want to shoot rapists, which is totally illegal and unlawful, and I wish the police commissioner would not say so. When the police commissioner is approached, in April there is a letter, and I have many things to prove that this letter has reached his office. Why is it that the police commissioner does not think that he should do anything?
So let me ask the young lady a final question. That do you still have hope that the system and the country and that, that there'll be some response to this now that you have spoken out? Another young lady is fighting her battle here. Or are you cynical? Do you believe that, as a country, we just don't take sexual harassment seriously enough? And whether it is with, I was telling Vrinda this yesterday, whether it's about judges facing allegations, other powerful men, do you feel that they get away with it because of their positions of power?
Absolutely. I think it's very evident and very obvious. In many cases, we've seen men who, elite men with cultural sort of political clout, with that sort of power, the kind of power that Pachauri wields. Of course, they get away. So cynicism is easy to come by, but one has to keep trying, and one will.
All right. Well, I think that's that is at least a certain more hopeful note to end on. Thank you very much to both of you for joining us tonight. And once again, I repeat, RK Pachauri's lawyer today writing to us and saying he would not comment on these allegations because he was not aware of the details.